Good morning, my name is Karen Roberts. I'm the Assistant Principal for Apprenticeships here at Cheshire College. So today we are actually live from Cheshire College, and this is the first of our two panel sessions taking place this week, with the second is at our Crewe campus on Friday. This week marks the 16th National Apprenticeship Week, and it's a fantastic opportunity for us to put a spotlight on all things apprenticeships. Cheshire College works with over 500 employers to deliver high quality training to over 1,000 apprentices. The panel is designed to explore apprenticeships with the people who know them best, and I'm joined here today by a panel of existing apprentices and some of our employer partners. So I would say that we're joined by our experts. Our panel members have given up their time from their busy day work schedules to join us today because they believe in the power of apprenticeships. Our employer representatives are Davinda Lote from Altimex, Jas Clay from Essar Oil, Aaron Shepherd is currently an apprentice from Altimex, and Jessica Taylor is an apprentice who is employed by Cheshire College. And we're also joined by Stephanie Wright, the Assistant Director of Apprenticeships here at Cheshire College. So to start, can I invite each panel member to introduce themselves and the company they work for and their experience so far of apprenticeships. We'll start with you, Jess.
Yeah, so thank you. My name's Jess. I think I'm going to start by pointing out the fact that I've been an apprentice before. I am currently an apprentice now, but I started my apprenticeship journey when I left school, so at an entry level, and then I don't know if you can see from my picture there, a few years later I've gone all the way up to completing a degree level apprenticeship. So yeah, I work at Essar Oil UK, and Essar operates the Stanlow Oil Refinery, which is one of the largest oil refineries in Ellesmere, in Europe, here in Ellesmere Port. We play a key role in the UK's economy. We supply 16% of the UK's transport fuels. So when I say transport fuels, that's your petrol and diesel in your cars, and then the jet fuel that is used in aeroplanes to take us on holidays, etc. And also, Essar have invested recently and continue to invest in making Stanlow Refinery one of the UK's first low-carbon refineries. So, in very simple terms, that means that the carbon that's produced with oil and gas refining will be captured and used, the energy will be used to replace fossil fuels. So, I work in the Learning and Development Department currently, and what we do is we identify what the current and future requirements are for our business, and apprenticeships have always been a massive part of the future requirements, and they've always played a massive part in our company. So we have two umbrellas of apprenticeships. You've got on the one hand, you've got our we call them commercial apprenticeships. So that's the important departments within a business that keep the company running in the background, so likes of HR, IT, marketing, finance, etc. These can last anywhere between 18 months to 3 years, depending on which course you take. And then we've got our other umbrella of apprenticeships, which are your engineering apprenticeships. So these are very much focused on the safe running of the refinery day to day, and some examples of jobs would be your process operators, electrical engineers, maintenance technicians, and these last between 3 to 4 years. And with both apprenticeships, you are required to have 20% off the job time from your employer to spend on your apprenticeship. So this can be seen in different ways. You can have day release to college, or you can self-study where you'll be assigned a skills coach and you'll have like an online system to complete your units of your apprenticeship. But along the way, the company really help you complete your apprenticeship. So the skills you can probably be expected to learn from an apprenticeship, one of the main ones for me has been my confidence. If you told me 5 years ago that I'd be up here talking to you about apprenticeships, I wouldn't have believed you. But when you work for a company that really believe in your development and they want you to do well, then confidence is definitely a skill that can be learned. And along with that, I'd say teamwork is a massive one. Because at the minute, from my experience in school, it was all kind of, based on your work, your exams, and you doing well, and rightly so. When you go to work for a company, you learn teamwork, as you're all working together to meet a common goal. So teamwork is another one that will, a skill that you can definitely grow on. But I'd say to anybody who is thinking about an apprenticeship, if you feel like you've been a student for so long, you've been in school and you want to really get started in the working world, and you want to start your careers, but you don't want to give up the learning aspect yet, you want to gain qualifications, and I think an apprenticeship would be right for you, and definitely the right option.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jess. Jess?
Yeah. Hiya, my name's Jess. I'm a business administration apprentice for Cheshire College South and West. So I work up on the 4th floor with the Central Operations Department. We're basically in charge of making sure all the new starts are on the system. So when you fill in an application form, I'll be making sure that it's compliant and can go through to get you all enrolled and put on the system. It's an amazing opportunity. I think an apprenticeship, coming from doing a level 6 and having to change my career completely, it's a great opportunity to learn and get the work environment. You learn such amazing employability skills. I had never done business before, ever, and thinking back to when I was in high school, I thought I was going to be on stage dancing, continuing my musical theatre career, and I've been welcomed with such open arms into this college. It's actually amazing that I can achieve what I'm achieving now, and I've got a whole different career ahead of me that I never thought I was going to be doing. You learn so many skills, from the knowledge about business or the apprenticeship you're doing, to in the workplace skills, people working with teams, having the confidence, having the kind of behaviourals to be learning time management, making yourself more and more employable each day, and everything you do, just say yes to doing it, because you won't regret it, and you'll look back in the future and you'll realise that I'm really, really glad I said yes to doing that, because it was such an amazing opportunity and I wouldn't regret it for the world. So our apprenticeships are mainly kind of in work, so I don't have a day release. We do everything alongside the working day. I have 20% off my time outside to kind of focus on my modules, my units, but everything I do goes towards my apprenticeship. All my evidence, I make sure that everything I do, everything that's different is recorded, and I've got evidence to show my managers that what I've been doing. So if you think you want to do an apprenticeship, if you've even got any thought about it, I think you really need to do it. It's such a great opportunity. It makes you stronger as a person, and it gives you a chance to build that relationship with a company that could potentially you could be working with for life.
That's great, Jess. Thank you. Aaron?
It's me. Going forward now. Yes. My name is Aaron Shepherd. I'm an apprentice at Altimex Limited. I'm currently down as an electronic assembler. I'm in a six-year apprenticeship to become a technical support engineer at the end. So currently I'm from my first year. I've been working in the test and measurement department. We do many different things. Products that go into the airports, such as van and strip lights. We do something into them. We do some of the lights on the streets with some of the control water limits, lamps, lights on the streets, and many other processes such as your water fountain as well, UV. I basically work in a workplace which does a large variety of different products, so I don't just work on the same exact thing every day. I came out during this apprenticeship.
Shall we move on to Davinda, Aaron?
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Davinda?
Good morning all. My name is Davinda Lote. I'm Managing Director of Altimex Limited. Altimex has been going since 1995 in its various forms. It's grown from being an £80,000 company to a £7.4 million company. About 10 years ago, I started looking at apprenticeships, and 10 years ago they didn't actually have standards for the electronics area. So I tried my best to try and get a standard put together, and it was very hard. Rewind back, so go forward to 2 years ago. I took on Aaron as a T-level student, He came to us as a T-level student. I think there's 1 or 2 students here today. Amber is one of them, and Lewis is one of them here as well. I got to know Aaron over the 45 days he was with us, and Aaron being Aaron, he gave me a CV at the end of his T-level work experience on the hope of getting a job over the summer period. And what I can certainly tell you guys is, do give a CV to your employers. If you have that opportunity, give a CV to them, because he got a job for the summer period. Went on to university. University is not for everybody. And Aaron really didn't like his university session, one year in university. He came back to us as a student again for a summer period, as a work for a job for 3 months. Come September, was it 2019, 2020? 2020. I asked him, when are you going back, because I need to plan for when you leave. And he said, I'm not going back to university. So I sat down with him and tried to explore some ideas as to what he could possibly do. I said to him, why don't you have a look at apprenticeships? It's one of the up-and-coming, quick, easy way to gain a degree or a high-level qualification. I didn't think about me taking an apprentice because 10 years ago there was no standards. And I was driving home, I said, hold on, let me just explore that again. And here he is, 1 year going down the road, and he's an apprentice, and he's quite instrumental. He doesn't like waving his own flag, but I can get you wave the flag for him. He's quite instrumental in test and measurement. Without him, the business doesn't operate. I can't send product to the customer. So he's working on live products that go out to the customer at the end of the day. And involved with very, very challenging things on a daily basis, ranging from simple testing of control systems, electronic control systems, all the way to fault finding. He's got a couple of mentors, myself as well as another test and measurement engineer, who he gets some ideas and learn a bit more about electronics in detail, and engineering in general as well, because engineering is quite broad what we do. And as a business, we design and manufacture electronic systems. Anything that you can think of. If you had an egg this morning that a Lion brand, likelihood is it was washed with one of the circuit boards in somewhere. If you had bread this morning from Morrison's that was cooked in bakery, likelihood is a circuit board played a part in it. If you crossed the road this morning where the white part was lit up, likelihood is one of those circuits that would lighten that up. And if ever you've flown from Manchester Airport, 99.9% sure the taxiways and the lighting on the runways is lit up with those circuits. So we have a very, very diverse range of industries we serve. We're not big as Essar, in the sense, we're only 18 strong. The strongest team we've had is 23, just before pre-COVID. There's only 18 people in the business, of which Aaron is one of them. And in a small business, do point me wrong, but in a small business you do learn a lot, in the sense, you are given the responsibility from day one. So as a business, I haven't got many apprenticeships going through, only have one currently. Maybe looking at one next year, still in the early stages of thinking about that through. But the advantage of working in a small business is enormous. You get to become a team player, which Aaron is, and you find that you have scope of progression within the business, because we're a small business. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And finally, Steph.
Okay, so I'm Steph Wright, I'm the Assistant Director for Apprenticeships at the college, so I look after all of our apprenticeship provision across all 3 campuses, which is Ellesmere Port, Chester and Crewe. So my apprenticeship journey really started when I left school, so I went straight into an apprenticeship position and became a business administrator. And from there I continued to work with a training organisation who then progressed me into becoming an assessor. So I moved from being an apprentice over to actually delivering apprenticeships. Fast forward to 10 years ago, roughly, when I joined the college, where I've been involved heavily in the design and development of the apprenticeship programmes that we deliver in college, ranging right from health to hair, engineering, construction. We cover so many different sectors within the apprenticeship industry and work with so many different employers. There really is huge opportunity out there for people to get into apprenticeship roles. and now's the time really, because obviously there's the ageing workforce. We need to get young people into apprenticeships so they can really sort of develop and grow their skills within businesses and sort of lead the workforce of the future. So now is a really good time to be looking for apprenticeships and to be pushing yourself forward and gaining those skills.
Thank you, Steph. So before today's event, we asked our students that are currently at college studying if they've got any questions that they'd like the panel to ask about apprenticeships. So here we go. So I think if I could ask Jess and Aaron to answer the first question. So what is an apprenticeship?
I think an apprenticeship is giving you two opportunities. You're able to work alongside a company that's either selected you or you've chosen to work with, and you also get the chance to learn alongside, as well as being paid obviously to do the work you're doing. It's a great way to gain skills rather than just be sat in college doing a full-time course. You're out there working, learning how you can apply the knowledge you get in college into your actual job, and vice versa, your job can help you get through your apprenticeship as well.
For me, what apprenticeship is, it gives you a practical way to, it gives you a practical way to use what you've learned in the classroom. So if you learn something about circuitry, you can use it in the actual workplace. But when I analyse boards or look at boards, I'll be advised by doing extra methods I could use. But from when I went to university, there were theories that they never really tested. There was a small lab, but not much. Whereas in an apprenticeship, you can do a lot more. You can use a oscilloscope to measure waveforms. You can understand if a capacitor's failed, but the possibility they might even link it to a filter, might link it to the waveform. You get to learn new things every day on the job, and it's also helping you develop skills every day to get the job.
That's great, thank you, Aaron, thank you, Jess. Okay, so next question. Now, we have already touched on this, but I will go back to both Jess and Vinda. So, what apprenticeships are there out there? Can you do any that aren't in offices, building sites or banks? So clearly our two employers spoke about other apprenticeships that are out there. So if I can go back to our employers. So Jess?
Yeah, so as you heard there, I don't think that our refinery classes as a building site, but it's more, it's much more than that. So, like I say, I think you can pretty much get an apprenticeship in everything now. So yeah.
Thank you, Davinda.
When I looked at apprenticeships about 10 years ago, there weren't enough standards around. A standard is something which you learn towards to. It's a framework, a structure. So when you go for your 20-hour minimum to college or university, that is what the standard is all about. Now there are almost 600 plus. There are lots of other standards now available, so that they apply to every industry you can think of, from engineering, construction, all the way to being a graphic designer, you name it, even arts. Things you've never thought of have now got an apprenticeship linked to it now as well. So there are lots of standards available for you to go on to, really. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And the next question. Is an apprenticeship better than a full-time course? And what are the key differences? So can I put that one to Steph, please?
Yeah, so I would say it very much depends on the individual. There are definitely benefits to having an apprenticeship over a full-time course, because you're gaining the skills on the job and you're learning from people who are actually in the industry. So you can not only gain the knowledge and skills that you get from your college side of things, but you're also drawing on all that experience from the people that you're working with. So it's much more of a rounded way into getting your qualifications and to getting into industry. You also obviously gain all of the work skills like Jess was talking about earlier, about time management, communication, gaining confidence and going and speaking to people, which you don't always necessarily get in a full-time college environment. But it does very much depend on the individual and what stage of their life they're ready for, because there's definitely a place for college courses as well, where people need that time to learn some skills and to grow before they're comfortable in going into the workplace. But yeah, there are definitely benefits to the apprenticeship.
Davinda?
Just add a bit more to that. I did some research a while ago to understand more about what kind of vocational subjects around apprenticeships and research around apprenticeships. the research showed that you're 25% more employable having done an apprenticeship. And likelihood is you will be better off in your pocket by over £100,000 over your lifetime of your career. Yeah. So those two facts, add up quite a lot. So somebody going through degree apprenticeship and somebody going through on a straight degree, you're more employable as an apprentice. So that's a big advantage. And I can't advocate that any more than, go for it, please.
Thanks, Dorinda. Okay, next question. How do I find out about vacancies and how do I apply? So I think we should go to our apprentices to ask that question. So Jess and Aaron?
Yeah. So applying to our college is kind of 3 ways. So if you're on a T-level at the moment and you're with an employer and the employer would like to take you on as their apprentice, they would have to contact us and say, I've got this apprentice, please can you get them on this college course for us? You can also apply through the government website or on our website for all our vacancies. And if there aren't any on there and you haven't got an employer just yet, we've got what we call a talent pool. So you can join that, and if we find a role or position that suits your interest and suits you as a person, we will select you and you'll be invited for an interview to kind of talk through this apprenticeship more.
Mainly for apprenticeships, I would say, as Jess said before, you've got apprenticeship.gov, which is the main one. I believe when I was looking around at jobs board, there was someone in Indeed, but I could be wrong. Other than that, though, Jess got all of them.
Thank you. So before we continue with the questions that we have that's sent through, I'd just like to open up to the audience. Is there anyone that's got a question that they would like to ask that we haven't asked so far? No? Okay. Right, let's continue. So, does an apprenticeship offer the same opportunities a degree could? What would an employer prefer, an apprentice experience or good university credentials? And I think it's only fair that we put that one to our employers. So, Jess, would you like to go first?
Sure. Well, as I said before, I actually got a degree level apprenticeship through the apprenticeship route, not the degree, the university route. So I think it just depends on, individuals, whether you want to have that university experience or whether you just want the university, the degree. Depends which route that you want to go down that way.
Okay, Dorinda?
Yes. If I was to take somebody on now, I would look to see if they've had any extra outside of normal college stroke university. An apprenticeship does offer that because, one, they've actually learned how the business functions. They know their peers, who else is working within the business. They've adopted to the culture of the business, because that's quite important. We're a very small team, and everybody is a family member in a way. Everyone plays a big part in it. So, me not having been able to, Aaron not being able to work with me is a big deal. So, if it wasn't, then it would really problem. So, in other words, yeah. So, learning the culture, teamwork, knowing the customer base, because that does help understand the product we're making in our case. So for that reason, I think apprenticeship route is much better, because you already know, as an employer, you already know the person well enough, and come at the end of the 6 years, God forbid, but Aaron will have a job.
Great, thank you. Now, I don't think it's fair for the next question for us to ask our apprentices on their salary, so I'm going to put the question to Steph. So, Steph, what hours do apprentices work and how much do they get paid?
Okay, so apprentices typically work anything between 30 and 40 hours a week. The minimum wage for apprentices is £4.81 an hour. However, there is no cap on that, so a lot of employers will pay more than the minimum wage for apprentices. So the minimum wage falls in line with the minimum wage for a 16 to 18-year-old. But yeah, there's no cap, so I know apprentices that have bigger pay packets than mine.
Okay, thanks, Steph. So I think the next question we'll put to our apprentices. So how long is an apprenticeship programme, and how much time do you spend on your training when you are an apprentice?
Yeah, So, apprenticeships can last anywhere between, so the shortest amount of time you can do an apprenticeship is 12 months and 1 day. So the majority of apprenticeships will last like around 18 months. Some of them can be like 2 years, 4 years, depending on what you want to do. The more kind of general ones, so hospitality, business, customer service, they tend to be around 18 months. But if you're going for more like an engineering apprenticeship, they can be quite a lot longer, because you need that time to develop those skills and knowledge to be able to pass your endpoint assessment.
Right. Yeah, as Jess said, they can be anywhere. I saw them one day, she said, well, for example, in my case, I'm going till 2027, so I'm, for example, in a BEng, a level 6 apprenticeship. I believe there might be a level 7, so yeah, so level 7, which will do actually year after that. There'll also be end year assessment as well, which will end if I did that, it'd be 2028, so 6 years, for example, maybe 7. So it can go quite a while, but in the day, it gives you quite a lot of skills to develop yourself.
Thank you. So apprentices, this one's back to you. So, how are you tested on an apprenticeship? Is it an exam or is it practical?
I'd say it's a bit of both, to be honest. So you have your modules that you have to complete. You'll gain that knowledge by your day-to-day general job and working environment, as well as like module books you'll be given, so you can read through those. They're more of a general kind of aspect, so don't apply specifically to your company. So in my case, I'm given a general workbook about business and organisation, and I have to apply the educational aspect of my college onto those modules. So that's the knowledge I've gained throughout my work. And then you have kind of like evidence side of things, where you're doing day-to-day jobs, maybe given a job one day that you haven't done before, and it could be a quick favour or working in a different department, and that's automatically another skill that you've learned, and they all go towards your apprenticeship. Anything you do can count to it, getting more evidence, and getting you 20% off the job hours as well is really important. So it's a mixture of both, really practical and written work.
So might say the question again, sorry.
Yeah, so the question was, how are you tested on an apprenticeship? Is it exam or is it practical or is it both?
For me, it's both. I do a HNC, so I'll go on a Thursday and I'll do a whole day. So whereas you'll go to a course, I'll do the exact same thing. I'll also get tested in the work environment, so I'll work alongside the engineer with me, and I'll be tested. So when I do a set board, there will be an issue that will test my knowledge to see if I can progress further. But also, then if I don't and I'm unsure or I fail, I'll be able to then learn from it and then progress further. So every day.
Thank you, Anna, thank you. So, I'm back to you, apprentices. So what qualifications do you get on an apprenticeship?
So lots of them you'll get diplomas, so some of them are like level 3, level 2 diplomas. Some can equivalent to an MVQ, some are equivalent to a BTEC. For my example, that is going to be equivalent to 3 A levels with high field standardisation, and you can also get a range from obviously your level 2 to your 3, 4, 5, and then up to degree level as well.
Sorry, can I take the question again?
Yeah, so what qualifications do you get on an apprenticeship?
For me, I've got several ones, so we did the new work together, looked into it. I'll be getting quite a lot of level 2, so I'll be getting PLCs, CAD, electrical installation, maintenance, and then I'll be also doing HNC, HND, and a BEng. The last years of the university to get BEng, which is one of the two.
It's level 6.
Level 6, yeah, sorry, which is level 6 every day.
What are the benefits to the employer of having an apprentice? So Jess, you've got to you.
Yeah, I think it's just about training up the young talent, and not just training them but retaining them as well. So there's some apprentices in our company who have been with us for over like 40 years, and so like you say, yeah, they are a really great benefit to businesses to retain talent, train them up and keep them as well.
Many years ago, I realised there's a big, huge skills gap within my business, let alone beyond my own business. I've got a huge deficit in my business where I have nobody in that age group where, you know, skilled or unskilled. So I started in the bandwagon of trying to get people motivated and inspired into going to STEM subjects. So with taking on Aaron as an apprentice, that will actually fulfill some of my needs as a business, because it fills in a gap that I've got, and hopefully, you know, that gap will be reduced dramatically. Not only that, likelihood is next year I may be looking at another apprenticeship for somebody. I'm not too sure this is or what it will entail. But again, it's looking to fill in a gap within my own business, which will enable me as a business to grow further. So it's skills at the end of the day. And the thing I mentioned earlier on, one of the things that enables me as a business to have to accommodate an apprentice is the fact that they are molded into the business in a way, the culture of the business, and they'll help me as a business to grow further. Yeah.
Great, thank you for doing that. So we'll just pause on the questions, and so we can go out to the audience. So do we have any questions from any of our students? Any questions from any of the teachers? Okay, right, so we'll carry on. We're obviously asking the right questions, which is good. So this one's to you, Steph. What happens at the end of an apprenticeship?
Okay, so once somebody's gone through the practical training for the apprenticeship, so it could be completing diplomas, or it could be gathering evidence, whatever that might be, they then go through to an endpoint assessment. So you get sign-off from the college, you agree that you feel fully trained and prepared, and your employer signs you off to say that they feel you're prepared and ready to go through. And then you go through to endpoint assessment, which is really an external sort of authentication of the knowledge and the skills and the behaviours that you've learned throughout your apprenticeship programme. And so an independent assessor comes in, so it's somebody who's had nothing to do with your apprenticeship training whatsoever. They'll come in, they'll do things like maybe observe you doing your work, do some testing with you. It might be that you have an interview, and they'll then agree that you've either achieved or not achieved that endpoint assessment. So it's like that rubber stamp really to say, yes, this person has those skills, but not only that, that they've got the transferable skills to actually be able to go to any organisation and work as an engineer or as a bricklayer or a hairdresser or whatever area it might be in. At that point, the idea is that you retain employment with the company that you've been working with, and you become a fully fledged employee with that business. But the important side of it is that actually those skills are transferable, so the world's your oyster really.
Thanks, Steph. And the next one's to you as well. So which companies offer apprenticeships?
With the college or
Generally?
Generally, so I would say every employer has the ability to offer an apprenticeship programme. It's a case of getting out there and speaking to employers that you would like to work with and see what opportunities they have available. As a college, we work with around 500 employers at the moment. There are employers that we already work with that do offer opportunities, but any employer of any size is able to offer an apprenticeship.
Linda?
If you can just add to that, thank you, Steph. If you can just add to that, you may have an idea of which company you work for or work with, and there's no reason why you can't approach them directly with your CV and say, right, I would like to have an apprenticeship with this. I know I've got support from the college in the sense that the college has got a standard that'll meet the requirement. How about taking me on? You know, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. For myself as a business, when I first thought of taking Aaron as an apprentice, it was a light bulb moment for me. When I started to realize, oh God, I could take him on. And it has changed the world in a way for me as a business. He's very, very instrumental in the business in Africa. But yeah, take a CV to the company that you want to work for. Get the ball rolling. They may not actually have thought about taking an apprentice. And you having explored the fact that you can be one of the apprentices, showing them there are possibilities, it'll open up a door for you.
That's great advice. Thank you, Davinda. Thank you. So that concludes today's panel. Thank you again to our panel members for attending and for giving us such unique insight into apprenticeships. For those of you in the audience who would like to find out more about the current apprenticeship vacancies here at the college, and how we can support you today in the rotunda, we've got an apprenticeship zone where there'll be members of the apprenticeship team there to give you more advice and guidance, and that's from 11:30 through to 1:30. So just before we go, can I please ask that you give a round of applause to our employers and actually our amazing faculty. That's great, thank you. So thanks for attending and all the best for your future plans. Thank you.